Divorces bring out the worst in people, so why wouldn't you just put that, like, get that out the way? Because they honestly do bring out the worst in you.
How do we feel about prenups?
I don't want to. I would be okay with it.
Yeah. Do you care to explain that? I mean, why? Like, because, I'm saying that because nowadays you hear that relationships fell apart after such and such asked for a prenup.
Okay.
I can be a bad partner, but a great dad.
Yeah.
Or I can be a bad dad, but a good partner.
Right.
And I think people don't understand the part about how you have to be good with all three different roles. I think it's very important to understand that a lot of people's relationships died when they had kids. It's just important to continue to pursue your partner, even after you're married or whatever. You can just treat it like y'all, like you still dating and stuff, and just remember to still be a good friend at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm back with another episode of Mental Wealth. This podcast is used to express thoughts, experiences, and lessons. I aim to be as transparent as possible. If you enjoy an episode, please don't forget to like, comment, and tell a friend. Thank you.
Like, we'll have to spend time, to be more intentional with time we spent, because we'll be living together, and we'll have to, you won't be able to be on the podcast right when you wake up and edit videos, and I won't be able to just turn over and read my Kindle right or stay up at night. I feel like we're gonna have to be more intentional with how we spend our time together, and that could take. I'm sure that's gonna take some getting used to. Me with work, probably not picking up as many extra shifts, because that's gonna take away from us spending time together, and me being away from home more. It's definitely gonna be an adjustment to do all those things, but I don't I'm looking forward to it. I'm okay with having a more chill, relaxed life, Well, I'm not worried, or I know it's gonna be difficult, or I don't want to say difficult, but it might be challenging, and it's gonna be an adjustment, but it's definitely possible. As far as social life, you have more of a social life than me, honey. That's not gonna be a problem for me, honestly. He's gonna have to adjust. Not me. But how do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's just balance. And you gotta understand how to leave each life with whatever's going on. I try to look at it like that. Like, if I'm at work, I leave my work life at work.
Mm-hmm.
I might talk about a couple of problems that I had come up that just really interested me. But really going into the details and stuff like that, it's not really important.
Yeah.
Because when you go to the personal life, it's all right, now I gotta talk about my family and
shift your focus.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
And then when you get into your social life, that's just completely different, because you also, and I kind of look at social as relationships outside of your immediate family. So that might be dealing with cousins and friends, and just, you could online and whatever, but just understand that there are other relationships that you have that aren't just your partner.
Yeah.
And just because you have a partner doesn't mean you quit hanging out with your best friend.
Right.
Or you quit hanging out with people you used to. Now, if they're bad or something like that,
then it's different. But
yeah,
still making time for people who are in our lives before we got married.
Yeah.
I feel like we value our time that we spent with other people too. We honestly don't. That's obviously going to change because we don't live together, but we spent a lot of time apart.
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
We value the time we spent with everybody else, So yeah, I don't think that's going to stop. But probably, I don't think we're going to have an issue with, not doing that.
Yeah.
But probably, how much we do it.
Yeah, because, I kind of encourage, I never been, one of those people, and she hasn't either, but just been, we need to spend more time together. Because I understand, you might have a family member coming into town that you haven't saw in a while.
Yeah.
And then, what are we going to do? Watch a movie? We can chill and stuff like that, but I like to actually do stuff. If we're not doing anything, it's well, you might as well spend the time with your mom. But I hate to be like that, but if we just want to lay around, we can do that. But
yeah. But, if there's something else to do,
yeah,
and, you don't care, I'm going to go do that.
Yeah. What are our individual financial goals?
Okay, my financial goals, of course, everybody wants to be financially stable. I big saver of things. I don't feel, well, lately with the wedding and stuff, aside from that, I feel like I'm a big saver. And my goal is for me to be able to, when it's time for us to buy a house, to be able to like put a substantial amount, like a down payment. That's like a goal of mine. Like as much as like we can afford comfortably to put down on a house, that's a goal of mine. So like that's something I'm working towards, you know? Um Even individually, cuz like I know I'm going to buy a house one day. So like that's kind of like the mindset that I have. That's a goal of mine. I want to own my own home. So I am financially I'm preparing for something like that. And to be able to like afford a house and furnish a house. So that's something that I have in my mind too. And I want to invest more of my money after things calm down with like the wedding and we get back on our honeymoon and stuff. I'm gonna prioritize doing that more or putting more in. Yeah, I just really want to be comfortable. Like I don't feel like it would be lovely to be like rich and not have to worry about anything, but I just want to be stable and comfortable and be able to afford the things, you know, that I want to, afford the things that I need. So that's just a goal of mine to just not have to worry about money. It's like I know that I have money in my bank account, and for that to be like enough for me, you know,
You know,
that's a goal for me.
I want to be able to build generational wealth. I think that's always been very important to me. Just looking at how financial planning has been out of conversations within my community. I mean, when people pass, they don't have life insurance and so forth. Then people don't have a will, so you're fighting over your grandmother's house in the probate court. And then when people die, next thing you know, they're fighting over your aunt's house, and the family just falls apart. So I think being able to pass down wealth and being able to set up generations after me has been very important to almost every move I make now currently in my life. I think even now, like how I invest even when I don't have money. And I just know it's like I'm buying my future. And I know if I spend enough money, I can eventually buy the future of my family and generations after me. And I know they say that generational wealth usually doesn't last past the first generation or whatever. But I'm at least people not gonna say that grandpa didn't or great grandpa didn't own all this land and he did all this to make sure we was good and he paid for our colleges and all this other stuff. So I think being a billionaire would be great, but there's a lot of problems you have with being a billionaire. So I think probably like a couple $100 million or something like that. I think that's pretty smooth. I think it's possible though. All I do is just keep building my business and investing in other businesses and just partnering. And I mean, they have government contracting and stuff and so forth. I'll eventually learn it, but yeah. How do we approach budgeting, saving, and spending?
Well, our finances aren't joint right
Yeah.
now. I feel like we agreed after we get married, they will be to a certain extent. Like we'll have a joint checking and a joint savings, and then we'll have our own accounts still. But we also haven't talked about how we're going to be budgeting and what percentage of what we're putting into our joint accounts and all the things. Um, I spend more money than Jaime, yes, but he's very frugal. Like honestly, he doesn't think he needs anything. Like it's like pulling teeth to get him like buy a new pack of tank tops. Honestly, so he's very frugal. So that's something that we have to talk about also. Because I feel like there's certain things you should be frugal about, and other things you don't have to be frugal about.
Yeah.
But I feel like we'll have to work out the kinks of what percentage of our paychecks are going into our joint account. How much are we going to be saving? What are our goals for our savings account and all those things. But there's a lot of things that go into that, how much money we make and how much money we already have saved and like what, the things that we had before the marriage, keeping those things separate, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah.
I think you kind of talked about it. I was gonna say how you feel about debt and assets, but you kind of talked about it. Oh, how do we approach large purchases?
You go.
I think every large purchase just has to start with a conversation. I think making a large purchase without talking to your partner. I don't care if it's out of your account, a joint account, or whatever. I mean, even if they spend the money out of their own account, it still affects the household.
Yeah.
Especially when you have kids and they have a field trip coming up or such and such is off in college. And so I think, what you want to say?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
But I think it's just important to have a conversation about a large purpose because sometimes they make sense. Like your AC might go out or you need a new roof. So I think it's still important just because people just want to be informed, and if you make the purchase without them, then they take it as that you don't respect their opinion or you don't consider their opinion when you make decisions. And so I think people just want to be acknowledged. So just include your partner if you have to make a large purchase.
What do you consider a large purchase?
Anything over 500.
Dang, I was gonna say anything over 2.
Over 200. I think probably anything over 500.
Okay. I got a window, guys.
I can't get that kind of
$4.99.
Yeah. So that tax hit. If that tax make it over 500, I need answers because I'm gonna ask questions.
No, that's valid. That's valid, honestly. Because you know me, like, I might pop up with a coach package on my door. But I agree with that. I'm okay with telling you, even if it's my own money. I guess it's never, even if it's in my own account. I guess it's never my own money.
Yeah, I mean it's the family. Yeah. How do we feel about prenups?
I don't want to. I would be okay with.
Yeah. Do you care to explain that? I mean, why? Like you're so. I mean, because I'm saying that because nowadays you hear that relationships fell apart after such and such asked for a prenup, and so forth.
Yeah, I can elaborate. I feel like I look at prenups. I know people have this notion, no, you're preparing for a divorce. Why are you already thinking of divorce when you haven't even got married yet? That's literally false. It's literally, first of all, money is like the number one reason people get divorced. And divorces are so ugly because of like the assets and dividing all that up. Divorces get really ugly. So I'm just like, I don't see it as going into marriage preparing for a divorce. Doesn't make sense to me. But just like you're looking out for the relationship you're gonna have with this person if that does happen. You know, if you could like avoid all the heartbreak that could come with a divorce by having everything already settled, why wouldn't you just do that? Yeah. I don't really see it as, oh, you already think about a divorce. But like, I feel like whatever you come in with a marriage, like anything we haven't built together, that you should be able to leave with that. Yeah. You know, and then you divide the things you guys built together, you know? But I feel like divorces bring out the worst in people. So why wouldn't you just put that, like, get that out the way? Because they honestly do bring out the worst in you. Like, you start to look unrecognizable to that person you were once married to. So I don't have a problem with it. If we were to get one, even if we get a post note, I would be okay with that. Yeah. I don't really have a negative stance on that, honestly.
I think the problem with it is that I think even just the prenup conversation, that's what just stops relationships from being able to move forward with even like trying to plan. Because I know I have friends of mine who told me about they even brought the conversation up to their partner and it just started an argument or they just haven't been able to even get anywhere else after having the conversation. Yeah. But I think honestly, it's the best way to not create an enemy for the rest of your life. Yeah, that's good. And especially if you have kids. Like I hear stories about one of my friends' dads. He lost his whole 401k like in their divorce. And so imagine a man about to approaching retirement who can't even retire because his wife took the house and his whole 401k. Yeah. And so it's just like all he could leave with was his truck. So it's just like at this point, I mean, I've always been one of those people, just leave the person or something like that. Cheating is wrong, but it shouldn't cost a man his whole life. Right. It shouldn't cost somebody their grandmother's house that she left to them and his whole 401k. Now he can't even retire. Like, I understand you make one mistake and okay, not only did you lose your marriage, but now I have to deal with everything after that too. Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
It's a lot. It just brings up the worst in people. And I don't know why people get so defensive about it. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm like the odd one out because I don't care about getting one. It's not a big deal to me. And I'm like, this is the only man I plan to marry. And I would still get one. You know, like this, I'm going in this with this being my only marriage ever. And I would get one. What's the big deal?
I think it's because we both come from like not a scarcity mindset. I think since we both are established in our careers,
we have our own. And I like if we were to part ways, he can hold his own, and I could hold my own. Like, we're gonna be dependent on each other, but like apart, we're okay. Yeah, we're just better together. If that makes sense. So like That's a good point too.
Yeah.
That could be coming from too.
Because I feel like a lot of women approach it like, essentially, my lifestyle right now as it is would not exist if we are not together. So then I think that's what makes it harder to even listen to the conversation about it. But I think that speaks volumes in itself too, because if you can see that right there on the wall, then why not try to make some kind of improvements? Have a conversation about how you're feeling. Because if you're feeling like that, it's understandable, but it's wrong if you don't talk to your partner about it.
And even if you go in saying, why are you already thinking about the worst? Well, why wouldn't you just prepare for the worst?
Yeah.
If they're thinking about it, like if they're already there, why wouldn't, I feel like that would just be a comfort to your partner. Like, I know your mind's not where it should be, but to ease your mind, I'll do it. Yeah. That's just like sacrificial. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, relationships are about sacrifice. When you care about somebody and you love them, you gotta sacrifice some stuff. Do I believe in prenups? No. But I would get them. I would get one. I mean, I'm not saying I don't believe in it, but I'm just saying hypothetically. Like, if I didn't believe in one and he felt passionately about it, I would get one.
And I think you don't buy a rain jacket when it's raining. You just have the jacket. Talk about kids. Do we both want children? I think that's kind of a no-brainer. We both do.
Yes, we both want kids. Not the same number.
Yeah, I think
I want 2, he wants 5.
Yeah.
So 3. It's the compromise.
Ooh, what are our thoughts on adoption or family building methods?
I think we talked about this today a little bit. I would be open. I said today that I would be open to adopting a child.
Yeah, I would.
I feel like that could be like a beautiful thing. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that question could also be rephrased like, God forbid, like if I couldn't conceive naturally, I feel like we'd be open to other methods of having children. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. You said after every question. I got a good one. If we split up, would you keep me from seeing my kids? Never. I would never do that. Honestly, like my mom modeled that for like perfectly for me. I would never do that. I feel like the kids don't have anything to do with it. And even if for some reason I don't want to, like hypothetically, if I had a shitty husband, doesn't mean he's gonna be a shitty dad. He might have just been a shitty husband. Or both, but either way, he can still see his kids. Yeah. And they can decide for themselves. But no, I don't believe in like keeping the kids away with dad. Doesn't make sense to me. But your kids too. They can form their own opinion of you when they're older. And I feel like you should give them that choice. Yeah, because I mean, you can grow up resenting your dad because your mom talked bad about him all the time. Yeah. And then wouldn't let you see him, but you always thought your dad didn't try to see you. So I think it just becomes a gray area because I can be a bad partner, but a great dad. Yeah. Or I can be a bad dad, but a good partner. Right. And I think people don't understand the part about how you have to be good at all 3 different roles. I have to be a good partner, a good dad, and a good person. And so a lot of people aren't going to be good at all of these roles. So I don't think you punish somebody for being bad in one role at when they're trying to do the other role. Right. They're not going to be good at all 3 at the same time. All the time. Yeah. What are our views on parenting style and this? I feel like the foundation, we agree. Now, our methods when it comes to disciplining our children might be a little different. But I feel like it's also circumstantial. We don't know. I don't speak on this much because I don't know how our kids are going to turn out. That's true. We could have angel children, or we could have the freaking that one guy from Mario Kart, whatever his name is, not the turtle, the one with the crazy hair. Anyways, we could have crazy children. We don't know, or we might have 3 children that are totally different and require 3 different parenting styles for each one of them. So it's just circumstantial for me. Sometimes I might have to be the good cop. You'll be the bad cop. I might be the fun police, and he might be the one that they want to go to all the time. So it just depends, but I feel like we're in agreement with just being open. I feel like you have to be open-minded with your kids and not have any preconceived notions about how you're going to parent, because the way we were parented, it's probably not going to work on our kids. Yeah. So you guys wait till that mug gets here. Wait till he pops out and see what we're going to do with it. Yeah. Pretty much. But I used to have a strong stance, I'm not going to do this and this. Then I stopped saying that because I don't know how my kid's going to turn out. Yeah. And I don't know what I'm going to do. So, yeah.
I think kind of how you said, just being flexible and understanding that different kids require different things.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm going to be big on instruction, though, because it's like a lot of times you get in trouble for doing something wrong, but nobody ever showed you how to do it. And so it makes it harder to even ask for help. I mean, because asking for help is a basic human need. And a lot of times kids have been punished for asking for help, or they're not directly punished, but their parent might be like, "Oh, dang, you coming here asking me again," or whatever. So I think just explaining things and then asking for understanding, asking them to give me clarity, or and encourage them to ask for clarity. Like if you don't understand what I just asked you to do, ask me that. Yeah. Because you can't fix a problem you don't know is there. And by creating a safe place for us to be able to communicate, I don't have to whoop your ass. Exactly. Yeah, and I don't. And that's not what I really want to do. I don't want to be that kind of, because I know I got a good bit of whoopings and stuff growing up, and I don't feel like that was the best way for me to learn a lot of my lessons, because I was never really a bad student. I would just like deal with problems at home and bring them to school and stuff. And so I feel like it was a lot of different ways I could have learned other than being punished. And there's plenty of learning styles, but I mean, being punished for doing something wrong instead of being encouraged for doing the right things might get a very different result from kids. How do we plan to divide parents and responsibilities? I feel like we're gonna share them. Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna share them.
Yeah.
You know, the marriage and family I aspire to have, it's like you're gonna know everything that I know. You're gonna know. You're gonna know what the kids like for lunch. You're gonna know what school they go to. You know, you're gonna.
That's crazy, Dad.
You're gonna know their allergies. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we're just gonna share them. I want to share them. Yeah. So that when I'm not available, he can hold down the fort. Yeah. I feel like that's the thing that like dad don't, when mom's gone, they don't know what to do or and my goal is for him to be able to hold down the fort when I'm not there and be able to know our kids' routines and what they like to eat and what they don't and such, what books they like to read at night for bedtime, you know. I want him to be there when we're putting our kids to bed and all that stuff. You agree?
Yeah, I agree. But like understanding that responsibility changed because things change, and so with things changing all the time, you have to be willing to change, or you deal with problems. And I feel like problems happen when change doesn't happen. Yeah. And so just being open. We start to just being open. What are our thoughts on education?
Like for a kid? Yeah. I would love for kids. Education is very important. You know, I would not be where I am if my mom didn't force me to be like, you don't have any other option but to graduate high school and go to college and make a career for yourself. And a lot of that was like, I didn't go to college. She didn't go to college, so like she thought college was the answer, you know, which for me it was, but it's not for everyone. I would love our kids to go to college and graduate if it makes sense for what they want to do, you know, because that's our money that's gonna be spent. Because our kids ain't gonna be able to apply for FAFSA. Yeah, you know, like there's not gonna be no financial aid for them, you know. But if it makes sense, if it's like something that you need a degree for, then yes, please go to college and do that. But if it doesn't make sense, I'm not going to force my kids to go to college. If they don't know what they want to do, I'm not forcing you to go to college. If you want to do something that you don't need a degree for and you can like be successful without it, you gotta go to college. Yeah. But like if you want to STEM, you want to be a nurse, you want to be a therapist, you want to be like your parents, you're going to college. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of where I stand with that.
But let's piggyback off what you said. I think I'm always going to be very big on education. I feel like education is the only way you free yourselves. Education is so big just because even when you look at our ancestors and their abilities to not be able to pursue the educations and not be able to get the great things in the world that education has to offer people, it would behoove me to not make sure to instill in my kids the importance of being educated. Now, I understand the problem with modern school but you still need to be educated.
Mhm.
Even if it's not in the school, you can be at home and learn
Mhm.
off the computer.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen things about AI tutors, or you can pay a tutor to come to your house or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Or you can get homeschooled and bring the teacher to your house or whatever. But you're going to be educated if you're going to be in my house. It's just like because I think the problem with today's society that they have tricked the average person to not care about pursuing education or to question. And I understand you're supposed to question everything, but people are questioning experts in fields that they study in and they don't have any degrees.
Yeah.
And so it just makes you think, like, you barely passed your high school science class, but you think you know everything about vaccines and such. Yeah. So it just makes it. I think we just have to get back to a society that values education.
Yeah. If you don't want to go to school, you're getting a full-time job. Yeah. And then it's going to make you want to go back to school because you're going to be in the real world.
Or you're going to the military. I mean, you can enlist, but you're not going to be at my house doing nothing. Oh, how do we anticipate kids affecting our relationship?
I'm sure they're going to change them a lot. But I want our priority to be us, even when we're parents, you know? Yeah. Like, I feel like I'm going to be a wife first. Like, my marriage I'm going to put my marriage first in the sense that, like, I have to make sure that we're good so that we're good to our kids. You know what I mean? Like, I can't neglect this relationship I have with him when a baby comes along because then that's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to be a good mom if I'm not a good wife, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I feel like kids are definitely going to change, and we probably don't even know just how much they're going to change our relationship.
Yeah.
But
we can look at this from a year from now, everything.
We're going to be like, ah. But I don't know. I feel like just having constant reminder that I have a husband, you know, that needs me also. And this baby too, but I mean, you know, he was here for the baby. And, you know, I believe it's God, your marriage, and your children, and then everybody else, you know? So I got to be good. Our marriage got to be good so I can be good and take care of our children. Yeah. But that's going to be a huge adjustment. I know me, like, I'm very nurturing, so I'm sure, like, I'm going to, like, want to be with my kid all the time and, you know, make sure they're okay and, you know, want to fix everything. So I can only imagine how, like, that would make him feel and how I would have to, like, balance and adjust. Yeah.
I think it's very important to understand that a lot of people relationships died when they had kids, and
it became the center.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just center their relationships around, like, we're only together before the kids, and so they stop going on dates. They stop really caring more so about the other person and just caring about the kids, and they use the kids as a reason. So I think it's just important to continue to pursue your partner, even after you're married or whatever. You can just treat it like y'all, I mean, you know, like you're still dating and stuff, and just remember to still be a good friend at the end of the day. Yeah. Because you can't be in a relationship without having a friendship. I think that's about all the questions that I had, because, I mean, this episode already had to make it 2 parts anyway. But if you enjoyed today's content, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back with you for another one. Peace.
That was good.